Hope you guys have coffee, drink while at it. And we're gonna start with the first committee session. So I'm gonna read the policies first. Okay, so the first we're gonna have a few of our conference policies. Delegates are required to attend conference by 20 minutes at the latest. Delegates are obligated to open their camera throughout the whole conference. So we, even though the committee will be all off cam, but we will be watching you guys. So make sure you're all on cam. We will be thinking about your certificates again if you don't fulfill one of your requirements. So make sure you guys follow the requirements. Delegate must write and submit a working paper every at the end of the committee sessions. Also, the delegates are required to wear formal attire. Delegates may quit halfway through. This is for delegates who want to quit. Yeah, basically, who want to quit halfway through, but then we're just gonna manage it accordingly. So, which means you won't be getting a certificate, and you can join again, but you won't be getting any certificate or any awards. Next slide. Okay, here are the official Ipeka Games 2021 live Zoom rules. Participants are expected to be present at Zoom. Okay, that's again. Participants are required to rename the account with the format country. It's supposed to be underscore, but then it's okay. Zoom can only be attended by Ipeka Games 2021 participants and committee and chair. So anyone here that's not a part of a committee, please leave. Or any part of the participants, or are you spectators? You cannot. So please leave. Supervising teachers and supporters are not allowed. So if there's any supervising teachers here, please leave. And committees have the right to remove Zoom participants who are not contestants. Next. Yang awarding dia. Ada nggak? Awarding. No? Okay. So here the awarding policy. Oh, okay, then the certification okay, I know which one. Which one? Yeah, okay. Certification policy. Delegate has to join all committee sessions. Delegate has to be registered into the competition. I assume all of you have. Delegate has to submit a position paper, which is already done yesterday, so the chairs will check it. Delegate has to be present and voting during the roll call. So if you are absent during that time and it's and you're absent, so you won't be getting any certificate. And if delegate fails to fulfill one of the requirements, the certificate will be voided. Okay, here the awarding policy. A delegate will be awarded solely on the overall performance during the conference. This includes their position paper, also their performance. So not only your performance, this means the overall performance. Delegate has to be registered. Yeah. Delegate has to join all committee sessions. I assume you all will. Delegate has to be present and voting. The delegate has to fulfill all the requirements for the award. If the delegate fails to fulfill one of the requirements, he or she or they will not be rewarded. Okay, I guess that's it. I leave everything to the chairs. Good luck.
Thanks, committee. So, hi everyone. I hope you're all refreshed, and we're going to be starting today's first committee session. I hope you're all hyped up. So, yes, Sharon should be moderating this first session, but I'm going to be replacing her first because of her net connection first, and I'll be sharing the MUN coordinator too. So if you guys have a point and I don't see the chat. Could you please, Angela, could you please like ping me in the chat or in the Zoom if I don't see it, because I'll be sharing screen. Okay, so without further ado, let's just dive into today's first committee session. Okay. Okay, we will begin the procedure with the roll call. I'll be calling you the countries out one by one, and please state whether you are present or present in voting. So first off on the list, delegate of Afghanistan.
The delegate of Afghanistan is present and voting.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Albania.
The delegate of Albania is present and voting.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Austria.
Delegate of Austria is present and voting.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Bangladesh.
The delegate of Bangladesh is present and voting.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Central African Republic.
The delegate of Central African Republic is present.
Okay, thank you, delegate. The delegate of Chad.
The delegate of Chad is present and voting.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of China.
The delegate of China is present and voting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Colombia.
The delegate of Colombia is present. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Denmark.
The delegate of Denmark is present and voting. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, delegate. Dominican Republic.
The delegate of Dominican Republic is present. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Ecuador.
The delegate of Ecuador is present and voting. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Ethiopia.
Delegate of Ethiopia is present and voting.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Germany.
The delegate of Germany is present and voting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Guinea.
The delegate of Guinea is present and voting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of India.
The delegate of India is present and voting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Indonesia.
The delegate of Indonesia is present and voting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Iraq.
The delegate of Iraq is present and voting.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Israel.
Delegate of Israel is present and voting. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Italy.
The delegate of Italy is present and voting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Mali.
The delegate of Mali is present and voting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Mozambique.
The delegate of Mozambique is present and voting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Nepal.
The delegate of Nepal is present and voting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of New Zealand.
The delegate of New Zealand is present and voting. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, delegate. The delegate of Niger.
The delegate of Niger is present and voting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Nigeria.
The delegate of Nigeria is present. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Norway. Delegate of Norway. Okay, Norway is not here. The delegate of Pakistan.
The delegate of Pakistan is present and voting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, delegate. Oh, sorry. Yes, the chair now recognizes the delegate of Norway. So Norway, are you? Yeah, we can't hear you. Okay, present and voting. Thank you, Norway. Next, we go to the delegate of the Philippines.
The delegate of Philippines is present and voting. Thank you, Chair.
The delegate of Philippines is present and voting. The chair now recognizes the delegate of Norway becomes, okay, present. Okay, noted, delegate. Next, we have the delegate of Romania.
The delegate of Romania is present. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of Saudi Arabia. Sorry, Romania was present and voting, right? Or present? Delegate of Romania, you present or present or voting? Sorry. Delegate of Romania.
Yes, Chair.
Were you present or present and voting? I'm sorry.
Present.
Okay, thank you. The delegate of Saudi Arabia. Delegate of Saudi Arabia. Okay, going once, going twice. Okay, Saudi Arabia is not here. Delegate of Somalia.
The delegate of Somalia is present and voting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Somalia. Delegate of South Sudan.
The delegate of Sudan is present and voting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, delegate. Delegate of Spain.
The delegate of Spain is present.
Okay, thank you, delegate. The delegate of Switzerland.
The delegate of Switzerland is present and voting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Delegate of Thailand.
The delegate of Thailand is present and voting.
Okay, thank you, delegate. Thank you, delegate. Delegate of Uganda. Delegate of Uganda. Going once, going twice. Okay, the delegate of Uganda is not here. The delegate of the United Kingdom.
The delegate of the United Kingdom is present and voting.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of the US.
Delegate of US is present and voting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, delegate. And the delegate of Vietnam, finally. Delegate of Vietnam. Going once, going twice. Okay, the delegate of Vietnam is not here. Now we will see the threshold with a total of 39 delegates in the committee and with a 36 delegates present and 36 have voting rights. The debate needs 10 delegates per motion to proceed with the debate, and the required votes for procedural matters is 50% for one, so the simple majority, which is 18. Okay, which is 19, sorry, delegates. So the simple majority is 19. Now we will proceed to the general speakers list. Hold on. Sharon, you can share screen. Okay. Thank you, Sharon. So we will proceed on to the general speakers list. So the standard procedure is 90 seconds or 1 minute and 30 seconds. Does any delegate have a point to change the speaking time? You may raise your hands. Yes, delegate of Equator.
Yes, the delegation of Ecuador would like to propose a motion to change the time to 2 minutes or 120 seconds.
Okay, that motion is in order. For those who are for this motion, you may raise your hands. Those who want to change the speaking time to 2 minutes, please raise your hands. We need a simple majority to pass this motion, which is 19 delegates. Okay, we're still in 18 delegates. Okay, I think the motion, okay, 19 delegates. Okay, this motion passes. Sharon, you can change the GSL to 120 seconds. Okay, everybody, you may lower your hands first. Okay. Thank you, everyone. So before we proceed with the general speakers list, those who want to be added to the general speakers list, please raise your hands. Okay, the Board of Diets now recognizes the delegate of USA. The delegate of delegates, please rename your names to country and your name, or we cannot recognize you. We have the delegate of Equator. We have the delegate of South Sudan. We have the delegate of China. Delegates, after you've been called, please lower your hands. Thank you. The delegate of Bangladesh. We have the delegate of Albania, the delegate of Italy.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition.
Yes, you're welcome, delegate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. The delegate of Niger, the delegate of Somalia, the delegate of Mali, the delegate of Indonesia, the delegate of Mozambique, the delegate of Austria. How many is that, Chair? 6. Okay.
It's 13, I believe.
Okay. The delegate of Philippines. And last is the delegate of New Zealand. And that is all for now for the generous speakers list. Please lower your hands, delegates, and we will begin with the delegate of the United States. Delegates, please lower your hands. You can get another chance to speak in the next general speakers list or in motions. Delegate of Niger, is that a point? Okay, no, it's not. Okay, United States, the floor is yours and the timer will begin once you start speaking.
Okay, thank you for your recognition, honorable chairs and distinguished delegates. First of all, the delegate of USA wants to express their immense thankfulness in being here to solve this global issue called child marriage. By the end of this conference, we hope that we will come up with a resolution to decrease or maybe abolish child marriage itself. By data, according to United Nations, 37,000 females under the age of 18 marry each day. If the current trend continues, almost 140 million girls will marry before reaching the age of 18 in the next decade. The reason why child marriage is still being practiced until this day is because most cultures have established the minimum legal age to marry based on puberty or reproductive capabilities. Additionally, we wish to emphasize that some are married off by their families. In summary, the conditions for child marriage were made more flexible to accommodate families' financial circumstances and ambitions, which we think is a violation of human rights and it is unacceptable. With this being said, the delegate of United States has a solution that we invented ourselves. It's called the Earpiece Guideline, which is an acronym of Education and Recovery Program in Ending Child Marriage Everywhere, which focuses explicitly on child marriage prevention, victim and survivor services, and financial aid to the economy. With that being in mind, the delegate of the United States is looking forward for further cooperation with other delegates in order to solve this global problem. Thank you very much, and we would like to yield our time to the chair.
Thank you, delegate. The remaining time is yielded by the chair. Next to speak would be the delegate of Ecuador. Time is yours.
Okay, imagine where to a great extent part of the world continues to tell you that you have the freedom to make decisions, to have a say in this revolving earth, and so on. When actually everything they said is merely a statement without any actions that prompt that statement. That is exactly how the children that have to go through child marriage feels. Seems as though people care, but merely by chatter and not by actions. Greetings to the honorable chairs and fellow delegates. My name is Kiel Christy Kwok, the delegation of the Republic of Ecuador. The delegation of Ecuador believes that child marriage has become a devastating experience for the younglings, especially those who are forced. Knowing the discomfort for the children associated, Ecuador has increased the minimum age for marriage by 2015, which is now 18 years old. Additionally, Ecuador has made positive changes in the law aspect of child marriage. This has been made to live up to our motto, God, homeland, and freedom. Freedom or individual liberty to make decisions regardless of age. Therefore, we have been making changes for this matter and will continue to do so till our citizens, especially the young generations of our nations, feel the freedom they've been promised upon. The delegation of Ecuador is here today in hopes that we could all find a solution to decreasing the amount of child marriage in each part of the world. Furthermore, the delegation of Ecuador hopes to see real actions in our own country, supported by bodies of UN, especially UNESCO, UNICEF, and World Health Organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. You still have it remaining time. How would you like to yield it?
Yes, we would like to yield the time to the chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The chair exhorts your remaining time. Next, we have the delegate of South Sudan. South Sudan, the time is yours.
Honorable Chair, fellow delegates, and most esteemed guests. My gender is a 15-year-old girl who wants to pursue her dream of being a lawyer, but due to economic problems, she is forced to marry an old man. She has to quit her studies and focus on being a housewife, including giving up her dream of being a lawyer. South Sudan states that forced marriage is allowed, and the legal age of marriage in Sudan is 18. Sudan has also signed the Convention on the Rights of the Child and other important international treaties regarding child rights and child marriage. Therefore, South Sudan strongly disagrees with child marriage, especially forced child marriage. The delegate of South Sudan, like all states, focus on spreading awareness about the danger of child marriage, children's rights, and the importance of education for children. Thank you, and I would like to yield our time to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. The chair absorbs your remaining time. Next to speak, we have the delegate of China.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, if there's one thing a child marriage victim would remember, is their right getting violated right in front of their eyes without the power to resist. It tears children away from their supposed treasured childhood. It imprisons, impedes, and it strips children of their hopes and dreams. Globally, more than 650 million girls and 115 million boys alive today were married before the age of 18. Every year, an additional 12 million child marriage practices occur. Child marriage is a toxic product of gender inequality. Poverty and harmful cultural standards are also the major root causes of child marriage. It's important to address tackle child marriage as it violates children and induces high health risk and rapid child population growth that isn't balanced with country development. The prolongation would cost affected countries $30 trillion by 2030. We are to declare that the People's Republic of China is unreservedly against child marriage. According to China's Marriage Law of 1981, Minors Protection Law of China, and the Civil Code of China, no marriage may be contracted before the man has reached 22 years of age and the woman 20 years of age. Late marriage and light childbirth are also deeply encouraged by the government. As a result of such policies, there is no registered child marriage in China. In order to tackle the issue of child marriage internationally, China had previously signed and ratified the UNCRC, Convention Against Discrimination in Education, and the HCCH. We hope that this conference of all member entities will bear fruit in the form of a solution to the child marriage issue we are currently facing. Let's work together and cooperate so that child marriage is a history altogether. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Yes, we recognize a point of order. Is it because of the timer, Delegate of Somalia?
Yes.
Yes. Apologies. Okay, but that's all right. Okay, Sharon, don't forget to turn on the timer. Okay, thank you, Delegate of China, for the well-timed speech. And next we have the Delegate of Bangladesh. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Honorable chairs and fellow delegates, the delegate of Bangladesh is delighted to take part in this conference. Imagine how hundreds of millions of children were married with more nightmares ahead of them. Do you think it's a good start to their adulthood or just forcefully matured by the reality they have to face? The delegate of Bangladesh thinks that this is a huge threat to our children. Supporting the global movements and agreements to combat the issue, Bangladesh has committed to national and international acts and fortunately resulting in positive outcomes. While percentages declined, we need to acknowledge that a high number still remain behind. But Bangladesh is supposedly not alone in this. Some seem to let the issue worsen when it clearly violates human rights. Are all those bad news and sufferings evident not enough? The delegate of Bangladesh respects others' effort despite aspects obstructing. The delegate of Bangladesh believes that this issue is able to be tackled with sharpened strategies and optimized implementations focused on each aspect surrounding, along with strong cooperation and partnerships among parties. Therefore, the delegate of Bangladesh hopes that we can conduct a synergistic conference in order to achieve the goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Bangladesh. How would you like to yield your remaining time?
The delegate of Bangladesh would like to yield the floor to the chair.
Okay, thank you. The chair absorbs your time. Next, we have the delegate of Albania. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair.
Marriages for a lot of people is one of the happiest moments in their lives. But can you imagine if there are people who are forced to be married to a certain person, but when you're still underage and that ends up becoming child marriage? There are lots of root causes for child marriages, such as first, social cultural issues, second, gender inequality, and third, economy, and so many more. Child marriage in Albania is such a complex issue, and it's hard for the government who are against child marriage to tackle this problem. However, the delegate of Albania would like to highlight one of the hidden but most common root cause of child marriage, which is custom and tradition. In some areas, children are forced into marriage to prevent them from being sexually active before marriage. Then, a lot of child marriages are arranged by families, and girls have no say in the choice of spouse, and male dominance plays a significant role. Hence, to tackle this delegate has considered a few solutions and would like to propose them. First is LOCO, which stands for Local Community-Based Campaign, in order to raise awareness that consists of webinars or seminars if possible after the COVID-19 pandemic, and work training with the help of local public figures and experts such as medical experts and etc. Second is CPI, which stands for Child Protection Institution, is an institution to protect children. Even though this institution aims to protect children in general, but we also would like to protect children who are involved in child marriage. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Do you want to yield to the chair, or do you want to yield it?
The delegate would like to yield the remaining time to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Next to speak, we have Delegate of Italy. Floor and time is yours, Delegate.
Thank you, Chair. John F. Kennedy once said, "Children are the world's most valuable resource and its best hope for the future." However, child marriage instantly erases their bright future. Delegate of Italy recognizes three main problems that cause child marriage. First, child marriage often happens to help their family's economy. Parents marry their kids to lessen their expenses. Second, surrounding environments. Traditions and beliefs are also causing child marriage. Many Asian and African countries promote child marriage as one of their traditions. Third, unwanted pregnancy. Carrying babies before marriage often leads to child marriage. Other than that, there are several cases of rapists that marry their victims to avoid punishment. Realizing the factors of child marriage, the Delegate of Italy proposes several solutions to help reduce child marriage. First, STRAW, which stands for Set a Clear Law. The Delegate of Italy encourages the government to amend the current law by paying attention to age and the implementation of the law. Second, the creation of TEAM, which stands for Tackling Education and Awareness Matters. We must ensure every child gets the proper education and awareness of child marriage through vocational education and training, raising awareness, protection, and financial aid. The Delegate of Italy believes that the other delegates also have their own solutions. Thus, the Delegate of Italy is looking forward to work with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Italy. Next to speak would be the Delegate of Niger. The floor is yours.
Honorable Chair, dear fellow delegates, children are our greatest treasure. They are our future. Nelson Mandela. Here are a few reasons why we should care about the high rate of child marriage in the Republic of the Niger. 1. Many parents are selling their children into child marriage in this country or even globally in exchange for some money. Their parents are treating their children as a survival strategy. They are forced to marry someone way older than them, or even worse, someone they don't even know. Children are supposed to live their childhood to the fullest, without any social pressure, and are supposed to be free. They have every right to go to school and live normally like us. 2. Many child brides become pregnant when they are adolescents. They become pregnant at the same age when we go to school. Imagine when we are studying math and physics, there are children taking care of their kids. This child marriage practice made them an outcast in society. They are isolated from their family, their friends, and their loved ones. They don't get to live their childhood normally like us. This practice threatens their life and health, or worse, they are likely to experience domestic abuse. As a representative of the Republic of the Niger, we are ashamed to say that we, as a nation are having difficulties making children's childhood the best childhood they can possibly get. As the country with the highest rate of child marriage in the world, we are hoping for help from more developed countries with low child marriage rates to help this country in exchange for natural resources, to increase the prosperity in this country and to make a better world for the next generation. The delegate would like to yield our time back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. The remaining time is absorbed by the chair. Another reminder for the delegates here, for point of personal privilege, you can just state in the chat after the chair has recognized you. But for personal privilege, if you want to go to the toilet or you want to get a drink or like off cam for a while, it's totally fine. You don't have to ask your permission to the chair. Personal privilege is more like if you're going to pass out, so you're going to miss the entire committee session. So if it's something serious, then you can just point to the chair. But if it's just the toilet or you want to get a drink or you want to off cam for a while, it's totally fine. Okay? Okay, I hope that's understood, delegates. So you don't have to ask permission to the toilet all the time. Okay, so next on the list, we have the delegate of Somalia. The time and floor is yours.
Thank you. Honorable chairs, fellow delegates, UNICEF once said, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights, and countries are obliged to protect these for future generations wherever they may be born. For a long time, child marriage has been a global concern. Child marriage mostly occurs in underdeveloped countries and mainly happens to girls. This may lead to the discontinuation of their education, risk of getting abused, and it will especially rob off their childhood. Many efforts have been made to stop it, but the reality is, until now, there are still so many cases. Somalia, shamefully, is one of the highest ranked countries in the world with the rate of 45% children married before 18. Somalia is within the least developed country category, not to mention the ongoing civil war in our country, making our economic condition unfortunately worse. Despite the challenges, we have a solid goal to reduce child marriage and hopefully make it come to an end. Somalia committed to eliminating child, early, and forced marriage by 2030 in line with target 5.3 of the Sustainable Development Goals. To get closer to ending child marriage, Somalia proposes to promote the awareness on withstanding child marriage. The delegate of Somalia is willing to work with any state that have similar concerns. Thank you. This delegate would like to yield the time to the chair.
Thank you, delegate. Next to speak is the delegate of Mali.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I'll start in 3, 2, 1. Children are the most precious gifts in a family, but somehow they're often treated unwell and they lose their rights. Chairs and delegates, some reasons have caused child marriage to be one of the big global problems. This delegate recognized main causes of child marriage in Mali. First of all, lack of education towards child rights, in this case means child marriage. Education is the key to being well open-minded and not easily being lied to. Children with low education are easily fooled about early marriage. However, lack of education has made people do not have any awareness towards child rights. Second, poverty. Especially in less developed countries, poverty forces many children to marry at an early age since they believe it could help to reduce family economic burden. Third, lack of law enforcement, in which law is just a country formality that isn't practiced correctly in the society. The delegate of Mali emphasized that Mali is against child marriage practices as it brings a lot of disadvantages. As the realization, we have done some actions in combating child marriage and preparing future solutions as well. Considering awareness as the causes of child marriage worldwide, we have set up the program entitled RAISE, or Raising Awareness Over Child Exploitation in Case of Child Marriage, in which we have social campaigns. Moreover, we'd like to propose our solutions regarding law, namely LILAC stands for Laws Intensification to Leave Out Abusive Child Marriage, by the law socialization and enforcement of law. That's why the delegates of Mali thinks it should be discussed these issues further in order to find solutions in saving children's rights. Thank you. The delegates of Mali would like to yield the remaining time to the chairs.
Thank you, Delegate of Mali. Next, we have the Delegate of Indonesia.
Most children in their childhood would dream of a happily ever after, like in Disney movies and fictional books, and of course, experiencing true love. But unfortunately, to marry for love is a privilege that not every people have. This child marriage is an issue that goes worldwide and doesn't just centers on one country specifically. There are three bases to child marriage. Number one is economical issues, social-cultural perspective, and social-cultural perspective and accidents that happen, such as pregnancy out of wedlock. Although child marriage doesn't affect one gender specifically, the majority of child brides are girls. With the prevalence of boys in child marriage, only 1/6 death among girls globally. This is not only caused by views such as the mindset of women supposedly belonging in the kitchen and that high education would mean nothing, but also due to the importance of female virginity in some cultures and religions, which would then perceive a child as pure and untouched. There has been attempts by the UN to counter this issue, such as launching a global program together with UNFPA to prevent child marriage. And in Indonesia itself, there has been efforts to stop it. And with new laws created that would help prevent child marriage. Unfortunately, those laws still have loopholes that enables child marriage. Child marriage not only robs a child of their education and innocence, but also of their dreams. And every child, whether of gender and ethnicity, has the right to live out their dreams and hope. Child marriage is a cruel practice that chains children to responsibilities that most adults aren't even ready for.
I'm sorry, Delegate of Indonesia, your time has elapsed. Thank you for the speech, and I think that's it for now for the general speakers list. We're going to go back to the general speakers list later. We're going to go into the motions, and now we're looking forward to a motion to open the debate. Is there any delegate who wants to raise a motion to open the debate? You may raise your hands. Yes, Delegate of India.
This delegate would like to propose a motion under the topic of definitions and parameters of...
Sorry, Delegate of India. We're going to open the debate first. And
this delegate would like to open the debate. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, by Chair's discretion, that motion passes. Now we're open to points and motions on the floor. Does anybody have points and motions? Yes, Delegate of India.
This delegate would like to propose a motion under the topic of legal rights and definitions of child marriage, with the total speaking time of 15 minutes and 1 minute for each delegate.
Okay, delegate, that motion is in order. Next, we have the delegate of Albania.
The delegate of Albania would like to raise a motion regarding main root cause of child marriage in each country for total 20 minutes with 1 minute of each speaking time. Is that in order, Chair?
20 minutes for, that's an order, yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, that's an order. Okay, next we have the delegate of China.
The delegate of China would like to raise a moderated caucus for 15 minutes with 1.5 minutes speaking time on the topic of global root causes of child marriage. Is that in order, Chair?
Yes, that is in order. Delegate of China, thank you. Now, delegates, you may lower your hands. We're going to vote upon the most disruptive motion, which is the motion proposed by the delegate of Albania for 20 minutes with 1 minute each speaking time on the main root cause of child marriage in each country. Those who agree with this motion, you can raise your hands. Okay, delegates, we see hands are being raised. We need 18 votes to pass a motion. 17 votes. Okay, this motion passes. Okay, delegate of Albania, would you like to speak first or last?
The delegate of Albania would like to speak last. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, delegate of Albania. So we're open to 19 slots before the delegate of Albania. Those who want to be added to the list may raise your hands. Okay, we recognize the delegate of Guinea, the delegate of the UK, the delegate of New Zealand. Delegates, don't forget to lower your hands once you've been called. The delegate of Thailand, the delegate of Somalia, the delegate of Denmark, the delegate of South Sudan, the delegate of Bangladesh, the delegate of Mali, delegate of Chad, the delegate of the Dominican Republic, the delegate of China, the delegate of Nepal. How many delegates has it been, Chair? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
We have 6 more slots.
Okay, 6 more slots. So the delegate of Switzerland, delegate of Pakistan, the delegate of Israel, the delegate of the Philippines, and the delegate of Mozambique. And the last one would be the delegate of Albania. Thank you, Sharon. Now, first to speak would be, delegates, you may lower your hands unless it's a point. Delegate of Pakistan, is that a point? Okay, it's not a point. Okay, first to speak would be the delegate of Guinea. You have the floor, delegate.
Okay. Delegate of Guinea firmly believes that the main reason for child marriage is poverty and tradition. Some cultures force kids to get married, and although it's a tradition, Guinea still believes it's wrong. Poverty also leads to child marriage, so money from both parties can combine and help out the kids' families. According to Article 286 of the Guinean Children's Code of 2008, says boys and girls under the age of 18 shall not enter marriage. Therefore, Guinea believes that even though the tradition and poverty causes child marriage, it's still wrong and it should not be done.
Thank you, delegate. Next to speak would be the delegate of the United Kingdom. Floor is yours.
Excuse me, what?
Sorry, delegate, it's echoing. Try again.
Okay. Check. Is
So,
everything okay?
it's still echoing. Do you want some time to adjust your audio? Just give a thumbs up if you do. Okay, we'll move the delegate of the United Kingdom before the delegate of Albania. Thank you, Sharon. So next we have the delegate of New Zealand. Floor is yours.
Delegates, thank you for the floor. In New Zealand, most victims of child marriage happen to be young refugees and immigrants who fled from their home countries to New Zealand in order to receive refuge and financial aid, whether it be of their own choosing or by coercion of their parents. The delegate of New Zealand believes that the root cause of child marriage in New Zealand is poverty, as desperate times calls for desperate measures. However, this is heartbreakingly wrong, and this causes children to give up their bright futures for a life of disadvantages as long as they can safely stay in New Zealand at that very moment. Hence, New Zealand Zealand has passed a legislation that requires 16 and 17-year-olds who want to marry to first obtain the consent of a family court judge to prevent.
Sorry, delegate of New Zealand, are you muted? Are you done speaking your speech?
Was muted previously?
Yes,
I
delegate.
turned it on.
Okay, it's on now.
Oh,
Mute
okay.
internet connection.
Already. May I restart?
Sharon, can we restart the timer? Internet connection. Okay. Floor is yours, delegate. Okay, I think New Zealand is having internet connection. Maybe we can move them after United Kingdom. And turns out we still have one more slot for the speakers list. So if anyone wants to speak in this motion, yes, Afghanistan, may add that to the list. Okay. Thank you, delegates. Next to speak would be the delegate of Thailand. The floor is yours.
Thank you, the chair committee. We believe that the root cause for child marriage in our country specifically is money problems in poor families and traditions of marriage within different religions or cultures that somehow allow the marriage of minors and the lack of choices in the adult spectrum for a bachelor. So specifically if a bachelor wants to marry and there are a lack of choices for like an adult, they might choose to marry a child, and the lack of moderation and care in specific and some countries. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate of Thailand. Next to speak would be the delegate of Somalia. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. There are a few main causes of child marriage in Somalia. The first is poverty, which many other countries are also experiencing. As this delegate has said before, unfortunately, what makes it worse is that we are within a civil war that has been going on for so long. In Somalia, there are also cultures within the communities. Like, for example, based on Somali culture, boys commonly marry at about 30 years old because they are expected to financially provide their wives. Hence, a man needs to be economically secure by the time he gets engaged. And related to the ongoing civil war, there is a terrorist group named Al-Shabaab that usually comes to their houses and force their families to marry off their girls, and they get threatened to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate, for the well-timed speech. Next, we have the delegate of Denmark. The floor is yours.
Firstly, I would like to say thank you to the chairs for giving me this opportunity to prove my enlightenment. As an open and giving country, Denmark is open to foreigners covering as asylum seekers to stay in our residence. Asylum seekers from countries such as Africa and Asia, where child marriage is dominant in the area, have traditions that influence child marriage brought into Denmark. These asylum seekers that seek shelter or arrive in Denmark for medical purposes or even economic purposes required to follow Danish rules such as the famous 24-year rule. Asylum seekers might spread the tradition of marrying early into Danish areas, which is the main problem and cause for child marriage in all over Europe.
Okay, thank you, delegate of Denmark. Next to speak, we have the delegate of South Sudan. South Sudan, the floor is yours.
The main cause of child marriage in South Sudan is a tradition that they believe child marriage is allowed. Another cause is poverty in Sudan. It's not the first time we hear that Sudan is not a developing country and has really low economic, where 55% of Sudan's people are low on economic. And the other main root of child marriage in South Sudan is lack of education, where 72% of children in Sudan does not attend school. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Delegate of South Sudan. Next to speak, we have the Delegate of Bangladesh. Floor is yours, Bangladesh.
Thank you. The delegate of Bangladesh thinks that the socio-cultural aspect is the main reason for the trigger of child marriage cases. This is proven from our UNICEF and FPS global program, which despite a significant progress, a high rate is still present, and it is observed that social norms is the main reason towards the program implementation disruption. Especially that in Bangladesh's region, South Asia, is the region with the highest child marriage rate in the world. Those growing up surrounded by this is like doctrinized with it already. So the delegate of Bangladesh hopes we can press out some acts towards this crucial matter.
Thank you, Delegate of Bangladesh. Next to speak, we have the Delegate of Mali. Okay, Delegate of Mali, the floor is yours. I'm sorry, Delegate of Mali, you're still muted. Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Boards of DICE and fellow delegates. We recognize that Mali is in the crisis cases of child marriage, and we have identified some of the root causes regarding this issue. First, lack of awareness on human rights of children, which makes children considered as unprecious matters, so they can be treated unhumanist. Second, poverty. However, from a poor family perspective, marrying their daughter before 18 can help to reduce family economic burden. Third, lack of education, which makes children are easily fooled that marriage earlier will make life more prosperous. And the fourth are lack of law enforcement, in which law is just a country formality that isn't practiced as the correct terms. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Mali. Next to speak, we have the Delegate of Chad. Delegate of Chad, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the floor, Chair. The delegate of Chad acknowledges that Chad is a third world country that is economically suffering from poverty and is non-industrialized. Corruption, conflicts, and harsh climate did the country no favors, and Chad has consistently remained one of the poorest countries until today. Therefore, the delegate of Chad believes that child marriage is resulted from poverty and mostly occurs in rural areas. Moreover, child marriage is deeply rooted in the traditions and customs of many families and communities in Chad. Chadian laws are rarely implemented in practice as traditions are deeply affirmed and applied in the lives of the populations. This leads to early and forced marriages. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Chad. Next to speak, we have the Delegate of the Dominican Republic. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Now I'm going to explain the main reason that child marriage is rooted in Dominican Republic. The first reason is, of course, tradition. Child marriage is recognized as normal, never a crime or violation. Only up until recently that the Dominican Republic has banned child marriage under the age of 18. Also, it's also a cause of poverty. It's seen that in the Dominican Republic, 30% of young women marry before the age of 18. But in more poor areas, the number reached up to 59%. Also, due to poverty, these children lack education. So they don't know that they have a future ahead of them and decide to marry early instead. The tradition also states that woman is lower than man in position.
Yes, the time has elapsed.
All right, seems like Jeffrey still has connection problem. So next to speak is Delegate of China. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. In the UNICEF database and the governmental databases, China has no registered child marriages. However, the delegate of China recognizes the root causes of child marriage, which are poverty and gender inequality. This is the key. Poverty is followed by lower education and the integration of gender inequality. Poor parental figures have low understanding regarding the danger of child marriage because they have little access to education themselves. It's a recurring cycle phenomenon. Then, due to the lower education and poverty, gender-based stereotypes are perceived as a truth. patriarchal norms and concepts like lower dowries for younger girls that devalue and commodify girls grow. Then this pushes poor families to arrange girls in marriages for financial support. We quote, if they will become wives, then they might as well do it when they're younger for higher bride prices. Even if it's done for cultural practices, the comprehension regarding the danger of child marriage would most likely encourage the termination of child marriage and stigmatize it. Therefore, the root cause of child marriage is poverty, which is followed by lower education and gender inequality. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Delegate, for the welcome speech. Next to speak, we have the Delegate of Nepal. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. The Federal Democratic Republic of Nepal recognizes three main factors that contribute to the still high numbers of child marriage in Nepal, which includes but not limited to poverty in families, lack of access to education, and cultural traditions like dowries. Nepal, as a developing landlocked country, have a problem with poverty, with around 25% of the population living with only 50 cents per day. The struggle with poverty continues to drive child marriages in Nepal to higher lengths, where Nepalese families are often found arranging their children's marriage for financial reasons like lessening the family's burden. And the traditions of dowries pushes this factor to greater lengths, where families often marry their daughters in a young age to avoid paying high dowries to the groom's side of the family. Lack of education also contributes to child marriage because most young brides in Nepal tend to not know about the consequences of child marriage, causing them to be easily manipulated and involved in child marriage.
Thank you, the Delegate of Nepal. Next to speak, we have the Delegate of Switzerland.
Thank you, Chair. Children being subjected into marriages shouldn't even be argued about. Unfortunately, there are several reasons why this practice is only still continuing, mostly due to the rise in poverty, gender inequality, traditional and cultural causes, and a lack of knowledge in the concept. The alarming rate of child marriages in Switzerland are mostly caused by economic struggles. Studies show that 8.7% of Switzerland's entire population currently live in poverty. The children of Switzerland are often seen as a burden instead of their own home, a home where they're supposed to be loved and cared about. Economic burdens in Switzerland have been rising rapidly, and coming with it is the rates of children being given into forced marriages. A lot of impoverished citizens in Switzerland would willingly give up their children to reduce the load they have to carry. The delegate of Switzerland firmly believes that this is extremely wrong and is working to find resolutions to lower the amount of poverty in Switzerland. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate, for the well-timed speech. We also recognize the point from the Delegate of the Dominican Republic. We can put you in before Albania because of the internet connection. Okay, for now, let's continue with the list. Next to speak is the Delegate of Pakistan. Pakistan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. One of the most prominent reasons of child marriage is poverty, especially in the COVID-19 pandemic that has yet to be addressed. The rise in unemployment, especially in the pandemic, are pushing parents to send their children for marriage for basic needs and money. Another reason of this is the lack of awareness. In some cultures, child marriage is practiced as tradition. However, we have to recognize that it is not the cultures that are at fault here. It's the lack of awareness regarding the dangers of this practice and the practice itself. The lack of social norms also play a factor in the ever-continuing rise of child marriage. Child marriage is a multi-layered and complex problem. However, the root causes of this will always lie in the lack of awareness and poverty, which should be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Pakistan. Next to speak, we have the Delegate of Israel. Sharon, stop it.
Thank you, Chair. The delegate of Israel believes that the main cause of child marriage is a lack of enforcement. According to the report, 716 underage couples registered for marriage between March of 2014 and December of 2015, with 517 of the juvenile marriages being performed in Sharia court. 466 of the cases were performed illegally. Government offices and police have seemingly turned a blind eye to this issue. In 2014, the Interior Ministry reported 416 cases of underage marriage, but only 37 of those cases were investigated. Police officials recommended 6 indictments be filed, but ultimately, all of the cases were dropped by the state prosecutor. This is precisely why the delegate of Israel is aiming for child marriage laws to be more strictly enforced in Israel. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Israel. Next to speak, we have the Delegate of Philippines. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair.
Our country has been battling child marriage since the 1990s by laws from Senate and Republic Acts. This keeps happening because of personal matters, as in traditions and religions, or financial support, as in dowry, or bride price. The Senate, the delegate of Philippines feels very unfortunate that poverty is still our struggles in our country. Although Philippines poverty rate decreased from 23.3% in 2015 to 16.7% in 2018, child marriage is still happening by this matter in rural areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Philippines. Next to speak, we have the Delegate of Mozambique.
Thank you, Chair. The delegates of Mozambique, deeply conscious with the fact of being one of the countries that has the highest rate of child marriage in the world. The delegates of Mozambique fully believe that the root of child marriage mainly caused by three issues, that is poverty, people's traditional thinking, and lack of education. It is really unfortunate when looking at the education quality in Mozambique. And there are a lot of people that haven't received education, and the result of that take influence of the lack of awareness that the people has, especially in child marriage. There are still a lot of people that think traditionally or old-fashioned, which think that child marriage is the key to solve their problems, such as financial problems. With this, the delegates of Mozambique wishes that by making program in raising awareness, we can change their way of thinking, but also provide them with solutions that expect to help them with their problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of Mozambique. Next to speak, we have the Delegate of the United Kingdom. Delegate of the UK, are you audible?
Yes.
Yes, okay, it's fine now.
All
Yes,
right.
the floor is yours.
Yes. All right. Good afternoon, other delegates. The delegate of the UK would like to bring the UK perspective to the topic of the root causes of child marriage. Now, the delegate of the UK has recognized that many other countries have recognized poverty as one of the leading causes of child marriage. However, in the UK, it's quite different than that. In the UK, the leading cause of child marriage is actually religion and culture. We cannot suppress religion and culture, but we also cannot diminish basic human rights. So what can be done? What can be done with this? Well, with all the information that we have, the UK wants to propose and expand NGOs, as well as revising of laws in our country. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Delegate of the UK. Next to speak, we have Delegate of New Zealand. The floor is yours.
Honorable Chairman and distinguished delegates, thank you for the floor. In New Zealand, most victims of child marriage happen to be young refugees and immigrants who fled from their home countries to New Zealand in order to receive refuge and financial aid, whether it be of their own choosing or by coercion of their parents. The delegate of New Zealand recognizes the root cause of child marriage in New Zealand to be poverty and safety concern, as they believe that desperate times calls for desperate measures, and this is honestly quite heartbreaking. This causes children to give up their bright future for a life of disadvantages as long as they can safely stay in New Zealand at that very moment. Hence, New Zealand has passed several legislations to combat child marriage and coerced child marriage as a whole. Thank you for the floor.
Thank you, Delegate. Next to speak, we have the Delegate of Afghanistan.
Thank you, Chair. The delegate of Afghanistan believes that child marriage continues to be a reality for many of the world's girls because of a variety of factors. Firstly, for many poor families, marrying their daughter at an early age essentially is a strategy for economic survival. It means one less person to feed, clothe, and educate. Secondly, little or no schooling strongly correlates with being married at a young age. Conversely, attending school and having higher levels of education protect girls from the possibility of early marriage. Lastly, in many societies, parents marry off their daughters as early as possible in an effort to prevent their daughters from becoming sexually active before marriage, as a woman who does so brings dishonor to her family and community. To conclude, the root causes of child marriage include poverty, lack of education, and the force of custom and tradition. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate, for the well-timed speech. Next to speak, we have the Dominican Republic. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So In our perspective, the first reason is due to tradition. Child marriage in the Dominican Republic was considered normal, not a violation or crime. Only up until recently that the Dominican Republic banned child marriage under the age of 18. This tradition also believes that men have more right than women, even though we all know that that way of thinking is wrong. Next is, of course, the poverty in this country. It is seen that there are 30% of young women that marry before the age of 18 in the Dominican Republic. That's already high itself, but in more poorer areas, the number reached up to 59%. Now, poverty causes families to believe that child marriage is the best option for them instead of higher education. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. And lucky last, we have the Delegate of Albania. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Board of Delegates and fellow delegates. It's important to know what is the main root cause of child marriages in each member states. It is sure that child marriage main root cause is different for every country with different conditions. For example, social and cultural, or unstable economic state, or lack of education, or poverty, etc. A number of traditional practices exist in Albania. Some of these can have directly harmful impact on children's lives and their well-being. Even though in Albania there are so many root causes, but this delegate would like to highlight poverty as the root cause in our country. As the delegate of Afghanistan has mentioned before, a lot of parents have already arranged their children, especially daughters, to be married. The same goes to Albania. This occurs just because they consider that their daughters have no hope in making a living in the future to help their family's financial state. By getting their daughters married, they think that it will give their family protection for their financial state. Hence, we would like to discuss this further with other member states. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. The time has elapsed, and with that, this motion has elapsed. And we're going to go back to open any more points or motion on the floor. Are there any points or motions on the floor? Yes, the Delegate of the USA.
The delegate of the USA wants to propose a motion of 15 minutes total time with 1.5 minutes speaking time regarding the topic of consequences of child marriage.
Consequences of child marriage. Okay, that motion is in order. Okay, the delegate of India.
This delegate would like to propose a motion to address the very first agenda.
Could you specify that motion, delegate?
The very first agenda is how can the council encourage member states to implement the adequate law in their respective legal systems?
Could you reword that into something more concise, delegate?
How can we encourage member states to enforce legal systems?
Okay, can I help reword it to a statement sentence? Okay, enforcing, yes, sure, enforcing. Could you repeat the sentence again, delegate? Legal?
Enforcing adequate legal law systems.
Okay, adequate legal systems towards child marriage, right?
Yes. Okay. A total speaking time of 20 minutes with 1.5 minutes for each.
Oh, I think that's not an order, delegate. It's only for 20 minutes. You can only do 60 seconds.
Oh, then please change it to 15 total speaking.
Okay, 15 to 60 seconds or 90 seconds?
90, thank you.
Okay, thank you, delegate. Next, we have the delegate of Germany.
The delegate of Germany would like to propose a motion on ending child marriage with proper education with a total speaking time of 20 minutes with each speaking time being 60 seconds.
20 to 60. 20 to 60, sure. Yeah. Okay. So with that, we're going to first vote upon, delegates, please lower your hands. Okay. First vote upon the most disruptive motion, which is the motion proposed by the delegate of Germany. Pakistan, is that a point? Okay. The delegate of Germany on the topic of ending child marriage with proper education. Those who are for this motion, please raise your hands. Okay. Okay. This motion fails, apparently, due to not the simple majority yet. So the next most disruptive motion would be the motion proposed by the delegate of the United States. Please lower your hands first, delegates, with 15 minutes total speaking time with 90 seconds of individual speaking time. Those who are for this motion may raise your hands. Okay, this motion clearly passes. Okay, for the United States, do you want to speak first or last?
We would like to speak first. Thank you.
Okay, speaking first. Okay, we have 10 slots we have 9 more slots for speaking after the delegate of the United States. Okay, the Central African Republic. Sharon. Central African Republic. Then we have the delegate of Mali. We have Denmark. Austria. Delegates, please lower your hands once you've been called. Delegate of Iraq. Indonesia. 6, 3. Okay. Yeah. We have the delegate of Philippines. We have the delegate of China and the delegate of Italy for last. The delegates, you may lower your hands. Okay, United States, you have 90 seconds. The floor is yours.
Thank you for the recognition, honorable chairs and distinguished delegates. UNICEF quoted, "Child marriage ends childhood. It negatively influences children's rights to education, health, and protection." This delegate thinks it's logical to suppose that child marriage will impair their educational prospects. As a consequence of child marriage, children may have sex before they are physically and emotionally mature, and they may be unaware of their own sexual and reproductive health and rights. Therefore, children needs access to comprehensive sex education in order to make informed choices regarding their sexual health and well-being and have more alternatives and opportunities in life, enabling them to actively engage in their communities and break the poverty cycle. Another key factor that we want to highlight is about the pregnancy at such a young age. It exposes them to the risk of early childbearing and motherhood before they are physically and psychologically ready. This could be dangerous to one's health because pregnancies in a woman's body that hasn't been completely developed pose a significant threat to the children and also to the infant. Finally, young brides are more likely to be subjected to violence, abuse, and forced sexual relations, and although sexually transmitted infections, including HIV. Therefore, by all means, this has to be stopped. And we hope that we will eventually discuss more about the education awareness strategies with other delegates. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of the United States. Next to speak, we have Central African Republic. Delegate, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the floor. By any means, child marriage can limit a child's opportunities, such as may include physically and mentally, such as education, economic for the family, and etc. Not to mention many internal conflicts that may happen in the country. For example, Central African Republic with the civil war that has been going on since 2013. It will and always have been a major threat in this country. These children will not be able to attend school and advance domestic violence, especially in the education form. These children deserve the right to be properly educated and be properly nutritionized. Many of the consequences that have been mentioned before, such as pregnancy and labor complications to the children. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Next to speak is the Delegate of Mali. Wait. Sharon. Oh, there Sharon. Okay, the delegate of Mali, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Chairs. Based on UNICEF, the normalization of child marriage has violated human rights, especially children's rights, who be the victims of these normalization practices. It is unfortunate to know that this harmful practice, child marriage, results in equally harmful consequences for every individual. First, concerning health, there's a high chance for children to be exposed to AIDS from being in a sexual intercourse earlier than the age of puberty. In addition, childbirth at an early age while the body of the mother hasn't fully developed brings risk to the physical health of the mother and the baby. Second, while looking at the social impact it brings, the children involved could be deprived of their childhood and future opportunities due to having the level of responsibility far beyond their years. Thank you for the floor.
Thank you, delegate of Mali. Next to speak, we have the delegate of Denmark.
I would like to say thank you for giving me a chance to speak up. Marriage among minors or child marriage is not only a local issue now, but the global condition that all member states must participate in terminating it. If not, child marriage can produce many different consequences that does not only harm child rights, but also countries and even generations. Firstly, this can cause poor physical state and mental state to the victim of child marriage. It limits them from reaching their full potential in education and schooling, as well as prevents them from having a chance to voice their opinion and become responsible adults in the future. This also causes havoc in the child and in the household and open to relationship abuse. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Next to speak, we have the delegate of Austria.
Cheers. The consequences of child marriage is very dangerous since it'll impact them mentally or physically. They are forced to have children in such a young age. Their body is not ready for sex and they have higher risk of dying because of pregnancy. People who got married before the age of 18 have higher risk to have depression, sexual or physical abuse. It also affects their education since a lot of children who got married have to drop out of school. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Next, we have the delegate of Iraq. Floor is yours.
First off, I'd like to thank the fellow respected chairmen and fellow respected delegates for giving me the time and chance to voice my concerns about the consequences of child marriage. You see, child marriage is a very widespread topic, and unfortunately, it is still a very widespread practice. There are very extreme consequences to this, as in it has even resulted in suicides in some cases. That's not the only thing that's being robbed here, not just lives. The future of young minds have been taken away in a chance to escape poverty. Sadly, that is also untrue. In a chance to escape dishonor, they have child marriages as a practice, but sadly, that is also yet untrue. You see, child marriage is such a wide thing to the point that
I think the delegate of Iraq was kicked out from the Zoom. Okay, we can put him in later after Italy. Okay, delegate of Indonesia, the floor is yours. Hey, wait, hold on. Let's share. Oh. Yeah, okay. Delegate of Indonesia, the floor is yours.
There are multiple consequences of child marriage practices, but all of these consequences pose a threat to these child's rights. Consequences may include such as the loss of being able to pursue education, since these children will be too busy taking care of household responsibilities to be able to go to school. Furthermore, there are health concerns from early intercourse that would normally result in pregnancy. This not only poses a threat to young girls since their bodies and reproductive systems are not mature yet, but also to the baby that they are carrying. This may result in death when giving birth. These are the usually high rates of abuse in child marriage households. This abuse also has an impact on the child's bride's mental health, such as pressure on their psyche and emotional state. Most people marry off their children to be able to lessen their economical burden, but usually these child marriages would result in a cycle of poverty that no one can get out. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Next to speak, we have the Delegate of Philippines. The floor is yours.
Thank you for your explanation. The Delegate of Philippines believes that the consequences of child marriage is a very wide range, and some of them are bad effects on educational attainment, economic situations, political participations, and health. Firstly, education. Girls who have primary education are 2 times likely to be wed before 18 than girls with a higher education. This could also lead to fewer incomes opportunity, which could also lead to poverty, and that is also a result of spouse could die, abandon, or divorce them and leave them widowed. Secondly, health. When children or younger people do sexual intercourse in such a young age, which results in pregnancy and childbirth, it could result in death or threatens life of the offspring. Thirdly, domestic violence. This could be a rape, which could happen by older men with younger women, discriminations by the spouse family, or loss of social support. And after that, for girls, the delegate believe that consequences is for 2 genders. For the girls, it's mental illness, lack of education and career opportunity, health effects caused by pregnancy and childbirth, and for the boys, it's ill-prepared to bear responsibility, early fatherhood, and lack of education and career opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Next to speak is the Delegate of China.
Thank you, Chair. Child marriage is a significant health risk for women and girls. Adolescent girls are disproportionately affected by HIV due to a lack of sexual reproductive health information and a lack power to negotiate safe sex or refuse sex. Children are more likely to contract HIV in marriage. Study in Nigeria explains 50% of married children have had complications during pregnancy that include excessive bleeding during labor, delayed or prolonged labor, frequent miscarriage, and pro-fatigue diseases after delivery. Marriage before age 18 is also associated with a 20% greater risk of diseases such as cancer, heart disease, cervical cancer, HPV, diabetes, and stroke. Meanwhile, socially, a married girl is expected to carry the responsibilities of a housewife. And with such burdens, victims of child marriage are physically unable to attend school. Additionally, girls that experience pregnancy or medical complications associated with pregnancy are shunned out of schools due to social norms and discriminative prohibitions. As child marriage culture curtails education attainment, which in turn reduces women's expected earnings in adulthood, child marriage substantially impacts women's potential earnings and productivity. In a lot of places where gender inequality runs deep, women alone are discriminated against and rejected from workplaces due to their gender identity. Women with low education levels are even more limited to labor opportunities and they lack income. It'll continue trapping them in a cycle of poverty, which will in turn limit their children's educational opportunities and as a result their own economic prospects. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Delegate of China. Next to speak is the Delegate of Italy. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Board of Days and fellow delegates, after we have identified the factors of child marriage, we should also discuss its consequences. This delegate agrees with the other delegates that child marriage definitely causes many aspects of life. The delegate of Italy has classified the consequences into 2 parts. First, internal consequences. Child marriage often causes mental and health problems, especially for young girls. Other than that, children who get into child marriage often also experience domestic abuse from their partners. This certainly affects their physical and mental condition. Second, external consequences. Children who marry from such a young age tend to discontinue their education. This will certainly lessen their job opportunities in the future, which can also cause the instability of their country's economy. Besides that, child marriage is often unregistered, which can cause violation of the law. This is why we must find the best solution to prevent those consequences to happen. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Last to speak is the Delegate of Iraq.
Fellow respected Chairman and dear delegates, I apologize for the disconnection earlier. I'd like to resume my argument in which that child marriage is still a very widespread topic and is a still very widespread practice. It has robbed lives and made several people commit suicide. It has made families broken and it has caused many more. But one of the main things I'd like to discuss is that it has robbed the future of young people. I'd like to remind you that a country's future depends on the minds of their youth. And I'd also like to remind you that if this keeps going on, maybe there will be no future for a country anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. And with that, this motion has elapsed. We are now open to any more points and motions on the floor. And the chairs are really looking forward in an unmoderated caucus. So are there any points and motion on the floor? The delegate of, let's do the delegate of Iraq.
I'm sorry, was I chosen?
I'm sorry, delegate of Iraq.
The topic I'd like to be discussed is that the effects of gender inequality in child marriage.
Gender equality in child, inequality in child marriage.
Yes, inequality.
For total of how many speaking time, delegate?
A total of 15 minutes and speaking time of 1.5 minutes.
Half a minute, that's an order. Next, we'll go to the delegate of Pakistan.
Thank you, Chair. Beforehand, this delegate would like to ask the maximum time for the unmoderated caucus.
15 to 20 minutes would be okay, delegate.
Thank you, Chair. This delegate would like to propose an unmoderated caucus for a total speaking time of 20 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, so 20 minutes unmoderated caucus. Thank you, delegate of Pakistan. And we have the delegate of the United Kingdom.
This delegate would like to propose an unmoderated caucus for the time of 15 minutes.
15 minutes. I think unmoderated caucus was already proposed. If you have a different motion, then you can raise it. If it's the same, then it's not in order.
This delegate would like to propose a moderated caucus in the topic of connection of child marriage with religion and culture.
Connection of child marriage with religion and culture. Okay, for how many total speaking time, delegate?
1 minute 30 seconds per person.
The total minutes?
Total 10 minutes.
Okay, that is not divisible, delegate.
Right.
It can be 15 minutes.
Sure. Yeah, 15.
That is in order. So first, please lower your hands, delegates. We're going to vote upon the most disruptive motion, which is proposed by the delegate of Pakistan, which is 20 minutes unmod. So those who are for this motion, please raise your hands. The chair is actually very looking forward to an unmoderated caucus. And the simple majority would be 19. Okay, this motion passes. We're going to open your unmoderated caucus for 20 minutes. Committee, can you please open the breakout rooms if possible?
Okay.
Okay, thank you, committee. And your unmoderated caucus can start now.
Okay.
Delegates, you don't have to raise your hands in an unmoderated caucus. You can just speak out your minds, okay?